Okay, so we're gonna resume now on this podcast. This is around the phrase that Nigel penned about this image of us will change, and the image that quite often people have of people with complex needs is that they are easy targets for bullying. Yeah, not everybody, but there's a lot of people do that, and people have to endure that on a day-to-day basis. So we're looking at how the services and yourselves can better cope with that if it comes at you. What can you do to possibly cope better? Yeah, and I'm going to start with Stephen.
To combat it, I mean, different people in different situations, but bullies are notoriously, not of high intelligence. And the beauty of people in general is that no one's perfect and everyone's got a weakness if it's something you can see or something that you know about. So I mean, I always say to my son, if ever he comes into this sort of situation, there's got to be something that you know about these kids. Whether something, if they approach you bullying, there's bound to be something you know about them that's a weakness. Hit them back harder, verbally or physically, if need be. Which I know in this day and age isn't. Not a lot of parents advise that, but I think the world's getting too soft when it comes to bullying. And like we've brought up, sort of ignore it and all that just simply doesn't work. As far as people with learning difficulties, people who find life in general difficult, my advice would probably be to combat it. Use the disabilities to an advantage, because use them, turn it round on the bully, because that's the only attack they've got, is that they think that anyone with learning difficulty or a physical disability, that you're not going to give back to them. So if you take that away, if you make a joke of it to an extent, or if you make yourself proud of the fact that you've got A, B, C things that you find difficult in your life, but you can turn that around on them so that you come across as funny with it or positive about it, or just take away their arsenal, take away the bullets they're firing at you, because what have they got then? If someone shouts something at you down the street and you go, a bit like Raymond, with the
like that, Raymond.
you can. I know it is hard for people with with some learning difficulties to think as quick, but with a snappy reply. But I mean, even just in the comfort of your own home, just think to yourself, right, well, what's the things I usually get said to me, and then while you're by yourself, just think, right, I usually get this said to us, so next time it's said, I'm going to say this, and then they won't have anything to say because they won't expect me to say it.
Yeah, I mean that's true, because that isn't propagated within services, unfortunately.
No.
And again, this ties in with the image situation, because this isn't just dealing with bullying. This is changing the way your whole perception of how you see that situation. And it is possible. I know I've worked in situations where it's actually worked. And again, this ties in with feeling more comfortable with yourself, and Stephen touched on that, about your disability. See that in some ways as a positive. If you're quite cool with that, the reason why they're criticising you is because of something that you feel quite cool with. And again, I've worked with that, and it does actually work. But you have to propagate that, you have to regularly reaffirm that. And I did a lot of work with Raymond on that one. I don't think for 1 minute that he would ever have retaliated to that wee lad in Wigton, had I not instilled into him to be proud of who he was, because Raymond did actually have a real problem with his image. People with Mongolism were regularly bullied, and Raymond got a lot of bullying.
He was a laugh.
Oh yeah, he was, yeah. But he also got really, really upset about the bullies that were regularly picking on him. But that lad turned into a really strong lad, didn't he?
He did.
Physically and mentally. I think his dad was a coalman. So he actually came from a good, strong kind of background. So, mentally and physically, like Steve was saying there, if you can work on the mental side and look at strategies like that, it does actually work. Yeah?
Yep.
Because these people that do this are very, very sad and insecure people. Thanks for that, Stephen. Again, very, very honest. Jen?
What? I forgot one of them.
you were talking about?
Jennifer's really into this podcast, as you can probably tell, because the response was immediate and blank. Jen, we've looked at about situations where you got bullied, and Stephen just mentioned something you probably don't remember. What can you do that probably will help you cope better with people who bully you because of who you are? What things have maybe you done that have helped you? Stephen touched on one to do with retaliation. Gary touched on it earlier on there, where he'd thrown a veggie burger at someone.
Stock up on veggie burgers.
Stock up on veggie burger. Sorry?
I could sit in my flat and think what I could do to not to retaliate with them. But if they came out with something what I didn't like, I would go out there and say something to them, or go out or hit them, or phone the police.
Sorry, Jen. Do we think that striking the bully is a good idea?
No.
Why?
Well, I feel like hitting people.
They're just going to come back on you, are they?
That could happen.
Yeah.
But then the other side could happen. They may well not want to mix it with you. I'm not promoting, by the way. I'll just stress this on the podcast.
Just ignore them, don't you?
I'm not promoting violence towards people. He obviously picked up on what Stephen said. There is a dilemma there, because my dad always said, you know, if anybody bothers you, just knock them out. That was his phrase, knock them out. Yeah, and it stayed with me right into the older age. It is a good way of dealing with bullies, but it doesn't always work.
No, I just feel like hitting somebody when I get my temper up.
But I don't think either that we should make people think that they shouldn't strike back. Exactly. And that's where Stephen touched on it earlier. Unfortunately, in today's soft society, we are literally bullying up the bullies, and we're not really giving the victims any real support. Yeah?
No.
You get a support leaflet, victim support, after you've been battered. And you've got a number you can ring. Yeah, you can ring Samaritans, but they're always engaged. I know I tried.
Gary got a menu after he threw that burger at Lado.
You got a menu.
Try chicken next time.
But do you think that violence is the answer?
No.
Why, Stephen?
I was going to say it depends on the situation. I mean, one thing comes to mind. A month or two ago, when my son said that this boy at school had been saying things to him, or I think he nipped his hand or something, and this, that and t'other, and he says, oh, you know, and he's not very nice to us, and he keeps, you know, getting loud digs in and that. I said, well, just punch him, son. Just punch him right in his face, break his jaw. And my son went, well, I'll get in trouble, Warner. I was like, well, who are you going to get in trouble with? And he said, the teacher. So it's alright, Daddy, go and break the teacher's jaw. At the end of the day, if someone takes that first step in and is physically abusive to you, if someone hits you, then I think it's fair game. But sometimes these bullies want you to throw the first punch so that they can then basically rip you apart and say, well, they threw the first punch. So you just got to be careful of when to use certain levels of retaliation. So you can't, you know, if someone says something verbally, you can't then punch the lights out. But if someone was attacking you, then you're not you can't really be expected to just take it either, you know. No. So you've got to sort of weigh up what sort of response is needed for the form of bullying. And
there has to be a balance. You have to understand that. And
this all telling the teacher or moving away, it doesn't work.
And that is exactly. I mean, I've got numerous amounts of bullying and harassment policies at home that were regularly updated, but the updates actually diluted the policy more and more, you know, of what you could or couldn't do. So I think it is about balance. I think it's about judging the situation at that time. But if you reach a point, and Gary obviously did with his veggie burger, if you reach a point where you're being assaulted by someone and you want to retaliate, then I think in the eyes of the law that should be allowed. Unfortunately, there was a major case some years back of a farmer, I think, who lived on a farm, who shot the burglar. And it was said that he used unreasonable force. There is a thing in law where, you know, the severity of the punch or whatever, and we have like different levels of actual bodily harm and grievous bodily harm. This person shot the burglar, and I think eventually was he jailed for doing it?
He was jailed, yeah.
Yeah, because the what the courts had said was, it took a long time, mine, was that they believed that that was unreasonable force and he could have actually dealt with it in a different way. But this bloke also had anger issues. So maybe on that day he was, sorry the fact this person had broken in. And I have heard people say this, if they broke on my effing land, I didn't shoot them. Now, that's almost tying in with barbarism. You'd be very careful with that, and I've always said to people, no, that's too easy. Way too easy, because I know, because I've worked with people who've been involved in petty crime and stuff like that, and not everybody is the kind of person that needs to be shot just because they've got into your house. I'm not promoting burglarism in any way, shape or form, but you have to be very, very careful, or it becomes lynch mob mentality. I mean, I know it's a separate issue, but do you think that anger would lead you sometimes to retaliation and probably hurt someone?
No.
It will.
No.
It will.
It will, Mark.
No.
It will. It will. I'll get my temper.
You don't hit them because they'll come
It was
back.
tormenting me.
Was he?
Yes.
Right, there is the debate and the dilemma,
Yeah.
and this was touched on earlier by Stephen. Obviously, you have to judge at that time in context of what's going on, the severity of it.
Yeah.
We cannot say to people that have been perpetually bullied and hurt physically as well that you cannot retaliate. We can't say that. We can't promote overuse of force, but if that person is repeatedly striking you and hurting you, emotionally as well, I think that you have the right to strike back.
Yeah.
If it's a woman, you strike back.
No, you can't.
If it's a woman, don't kick them when they're down. If it's a bloke, get your feet in.
Kick them where it hurts.
Big feet.
This
Kick
is
them
not.
where it hurts.
This is not a gender issue. So, who's next?
Mark.
It was Mark.
Well, I think we've kind of.
Pushed on that.
He sort of tied in there, didn't
Yeah.
he? So he
Yeah.
jumped his place in the queue
He
there.
did, yeah. So thank you for that, Mark.
Don't you hit anyone, Mark? You kill some young.
You don't hit a woman because you go to court for it.
That's right.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know.
So what happens if you hurt a man then?
The man's alright.
Ah,
Ah, all right.
You do have a very strong respect for women, don't you?
Yes.
I know that because I've worked with a lot of years, and I like that.
You got to respect women.
It's very kind of old-fashioned, but it's nice because you look out for your mutt, as they say in Carlisle, don't you? Yeah, look after my mum. I'll protect you, lass. Let's bring them days back, rather than all the thugs that are getting, done for domestic violence, where they're beating women up and dragging them by the hair because they stand talking to a bloke in a bar and they're out with the lasses. But the lads can do that. It's cool. So yeah, I'm with you on that one, Mark. Nigel, if you remember the question, you'll know the answer.
Do it.
Do what?
Okay, coping strategies in relation to bullying. What do you believe has been useful for you, and what things do you think you can put in place?
So I call it we did better.
Can you remember we discussed anger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
you just don't. You get angry, yeah, but you don't. Use that anger in a physical way, do you?
well, again, this is conditional here. This is what's been said probably, and probably at school as well. If those people that we talked about earlier were physically punching you repeatedly every time you walk past the house, I would have said to you, right, you need to retaliate.
Yeah.
Right, get them off your back. What I'd said to you was, if you're feeling angry because of the words that are said to you, please don't strike back, because you'll be seen as the perpetrator.
Exactly, that's the thing.
Not promoting violence on this podcast, by the way. No. But anger can lead to overuse of force, and you have to learn to control that. The reason why I went into martial arts, don't start, Stephen. The reason why I went is to try and control the anger. My dad got me into boxing. I then moved from boxing into martial arts, and I still had that anger. My last fight I was disqualified because of anger. I had a good lot of years through it, but that last fight I lost because of anger. because this bloke, there was Secudo, the Scottish club from Glasgow, they were calling me names off the mat. Why that was never controlled, I don't know. I was called an English bastard and all the rest of it. And at that time I was going through a divorce and I was really kind of angry, you know. And you're not allowed to lose control when you're doing stuff like that,
No,
obviously. And I knocked the bloke out. And for that one instance, right, it's almost like, yeah, I enjoyed that. And I struggled with that for years. I still do now sometimes. Because that was from my eyes, premeditated violence towards that person. I went to apologise because I got disqualified, and he told me to F off. So, you know, really, would you say I was right to knock the person out, or really should I have abided by the code that I had, because we had licences? You know, if you were involved in a fight outside of the dojo, you got struck off. End of. I mean, there's no way back either. Luckily, I kept my licence, and that was good. But I should never have
Do it in pubs,
done
don't
that. Sorry?
Do it in pubs as well.
What?
For karate fights.
No,
It's MMA fights now.
if you're standing at the bar, you're at the one end of the bar, and there's someone kicking off down there, and then the bouncers come in and take you out as well.
What? Take you out? What, to the pictures or something? Or?
No, there's fly out of the
Oh,
pub.
it's a phrase, take you out.
The
Oh,
fly out of the pub, and you've done nothing.
Well, usually I'm the one that has done it, so.
Stay then.
Because they've come past you. Come on, you.
I mean, do we have bouncers now, or are they just steroid men?
Steroid men.
But yeah, I think we finished that one, Nigel.
Yeah.
Gary, do you remember what the question was about, you know, how to best cope with any kind of bullying and how you can, you know, make yourself slightly better and stronger with what's going to come at you or might potentially come at you?
I'll stay away from them.
Yeah, well, that's an option, yeah.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's a bit like you mentioned about the pubs. I mean, there is someone, everybody see it, where the bloke got stamped.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
now that was sheer anger in there. That was real anger. That bloke's definitely got some serious issues. And the lad that he stamped on, he has now got life-threatening injuries to his brain and things, I think. Is
Yeah.
that right?
I thought he died. Did not die.
Oh, did he? I don't know.
He died in the end, yeah. He
think
got
he
the
did.
injuries.
Yeah, I think he did
And
die.
he died
Oh,
a few days
God, I didn't
later.
know that. Oh, what a shame. But I know, I can't remember who's shown us it now. It was at work I saw it. And I
No,
thought,
no one deserves to die over a pub argument.
oh no, but I think it was more to do with a woman, wasn't it? I think
I don't
he
know
was
the
with.
backstory to it.
Yeah, I think he was with this chap's partner or wife, and he thought that the lad that was with his wife, well, obviously it wasn't wife then, but he believed they got on, they were friends,
Right.
and at the bar that night, obviously decided the wind was more a different way, and just pulled him off the stool and. And that's a coward, Dad. A coward stamps on people's heads. That's not fighting. Because the bloke didn't get a chance to stand
No,
up,
no.
to have a go back, you know. But we're not promoting violence on this
No, we're not.
podcast. So, Gary, what else? Anything else you can think of before we...
Yeah.
I mean, you said to keep away from, you know, people that you
yeah.
know... and that's not a bad thing, you know. I mean, it's a bit like when I went to my uncle's funeral in Glasgow, into a pub in Sucky Street. If I'd known what I was walking into, I wouldn't have gone to the funeral, because I think I was actually safer at the funeral. And one of my other uncles, my dad's brother, said to me, keep yourself low, son. Do not look too long at people. And I'm thinking, what? Supposed to be a bloody, you know, awake. We're all, oh, my dad, not my dad, my uncle was a wonderful bloke and all the rest of it. I'm like that. Don't look. And there's people like that, you know. So anyway, you wouldn't choose to go in there, would you?
No.
So
No.
obviously, Gary, if you know there's an area or people like that, you wouldn't. Trey, thank you, Gary.
Coping. I think if it's verbal, it's if you can distance yourself from it, or if you can just stay calm and not react to it. If it's aggressive verbal, then it's best to get out of the situation. If it's physical, you fight back. You know, I've been attacked physically and I fought back. You've got no choice. Either that, you're going to get battered.
Trey's not promoting violence here. None of the group here are promoting violence.
No.
Stephen, Trey, Nigel, nobody's promoting
No,
violence
no.
here, are they?
No.
No, because I don't
No.
want to get struck off. We're going to round this off. Thanks, Trey. We're going to round off. I don't think that I said about coping strategies. I touched on it early on, where you get a bag of marbles and just hit them.
A bag of barbells might be
Yeah,
better.
barbells will do
Barbell-
actually,
marble-
barbells would be better because they need a bigger bag then, wouldn't they? So it probably sounded as though we were promoting a lot of violence, but we were trying to balance out, reasonable force and bear in mind that people would reach a point where they had enough and they had to strike out. I don't think we should punish people for doing that. We're going to come back to it at some point in the future, and I want to thank Stephen for again being so brutally honest and also bringing another aspect of that to the table. Yeah, so thanks everybody, and we're going to end there, and we'll see you soon.